What's good, everybody? It's the Clown with Cab Show. NFL Week 4, some big games. First and foremost, my Indianapolis Colts. We took another L. We are 2-2. But look, for the Indianapolis Colts, I thought they would win this game. But one thing I am proud about the Colts is coming back. They were down by 20 points, and they said, you know what? We're not going to give up. We're going to be battle resilient and just come back and just never give up. And then the game went into overtime, and then we know what happened at the end of the game. It's just unfortunate for the Colts, but for Anthony Richardson, man, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. You know, Drew Ogletree, 3 receptions, 48 yards, and a touchdown for the Colts. So there is life in the Colts. There is a good future for the Colts. And the biggest news for the Colts is not that we took an L, is that Jonathan Taylor is due back this weekend. He's due back sometime this week, I think Wednesday or Thursday for practice. So hopefully Jonathan Taylor suits up for the Indianapolis Colts coming in week 5. That'd be great. I mean, that'd be awesome. I mean, a lot of Indianapolis Colts fans have some type of bitter taste in their mouth when we talk about Jonathan Taylor, which I don't understand why. He's our best player on the roster. We need Jonathan Taylor. And when I hear people they don't understand football when they don't necessarily say we need Jonathan Taylor, like, no, he's our best player. Like, who's better than Jonathan Taylor in the Indianapolis Colts? Like, are you really going to say Anthony Richardson? He's a rookie quarterback, still learning the system. I just think it's just crazy where we're just, like, minimizing these type of athletes, these type of talent. It's like, dude, we need Jonathan Taylor. And I hope somehow the organization comes about and comes to agreement that, hey, we want to sign Jonathan Taylor. Like, I just feel like running backs nowadays are just so, like, just devalued so much. And it's like, really, man? Like, we're just going to replace a Jonathan Taylor with a guy named Zach Moss? Like, come on, dude. Like, Jonathan Taylor is levels above these type of guys. We're talking about a top 3 running back in the NFL. Like, that's Jonathan Taylor. We need him back, you know, but hats off to the Rams, man, getting the job done in overtime. Even though the Colts scored 15 points in the fourth quarter, Stafford over 300 yards passing, a touchdown, and a pick. But that's just typical Stafford. I just think the run game for the Rams is what the difference was. Kyren Williams, 103 yards rushing with 2 touchdowns. He's starting to come on hot, and I think Kyren Williams is going to be that number 1 back for the Rams for at least this year. Who knows? I think next year and the next year after that. But when he was at Notre Dame, he was that type of back that he was going to run on anybody. He made a lot of good teams look average. I remember the game against Bama. It was a bowl game. He just made this one move, and I was just like, man, Kyren Williams, this guy's going to be a superstar one day in the NFL. Now he's starting to play like it. I mean, this guy is nice. And shout out to Puka Nuuka. I think that's how you pronounce his name for the Rams. This guy's a slot receiver. He's a 5th-round draft pick. He's a rookie out of BYU. I mean, Puka, man, he's been balling out, dude. I mean, been killing it. And a lot of people in fantasy didn't even know about this guy week 1. Now they know about him. He had 163 yards receiving and a touchdown. He had the game-winning touchdown for the Rams. So, I mean, this guy is legit, man, a 5th-rounder out of BYU. Nobody's heard of him until a couple weeks ago. So, you know, hats off to Puka, man. He's been balling out. And hats off to Kyren Williams, the old Notre Dame cat. Rooting for him. I mean, but for the Colts' sake, we need Jonathan Taylor back or else we're going to win 5 or 6 games this year. We need him back. We're 2-2 right now. So, you know, I just think overall the Colts, we need Jonathan Taylor. I'm praying Jonathan Taylor comes back, but a big win by the LA Rams. And then we got the Bucs beating the New Orleans Saints. I picked the Saints this weekend. It was really rough. You know, the first like 8 or 9 games, I definitely was way off. It was definitely the second half of games where I hit a lot of bets. But the first half was just bad, and I thought the Saints would win even without Derek Carr. But Derek Carr did play, didn't have a good game. He had only 127 yards passing. But Alvin Kamara came back. He's back from the suspension. He had 51 yards rushing. But it was just all Bucs here. And we got to give it up for Baker Mayfield, man. 246 yards passing, 3 tutties, and a pick. I think Baker Mayfield's been underestimated. I even underestimated Baker Mayfield in the past. But he's really starting to come on right now. And he's really proved to me a lot, just like he proved a lot of doubters wrong, man. So shout out to Baker Mayfield. I just think it's incredible. Even though Mike Evans did go down with a hamstring injury, who knows how long that'll be. I think he'll be out probably a couple weeks. So fantasy-wise, I know a lot of people are upset about that. But Mike Evans, he's one of those receivers that's great all the time. Now he's hurt, so it's going to be a little little dagger in the Bucks. But, you got Chris Godwin. He had 114 yards receiving, but it was all Bucks here. And the Saints just didn't have the defense to stop Baker. That's really what it boiled down to. So shout out to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers getting another dub. Only one loss for the Bucks this year. Wow, insane. And then we got the Jacksonville Jaguars beating the Atlanta Falcons. This was probably my worst pick all weekend. I thought for sure Atlanta might squeak out a lucky victory, but I was definitely way off. I should have went Jacksonville. Should have did the discipline bet. And the Jags won. And Trevor Lawrence over 200 yards passing and a touchdown. Desmond Ridder had 2 picks, 1 pick six. To Darius Williams had that pick 6 on the Jags. Shout out to Darius. But, Christian Kirk, 84 yards receiving. You got ETN, 55 yards rushing. Even though ETN isn't producing as much as I thought he would this year, he's starting to come on. The Jags, this was really a must-win for the Jags. After, fumbling the bag last week against the Houston Texans, they bounced back. But Atlanta, they just kind of did mediocre. Even though Robinson over 100 yards rushing, you had Drake London. He did score a touchdown in London, so shout out to Drake London. But, it's all Jacksonville Jaguars in London, so shout out to the Jags. And then we got the Miami Dolphins getting whopped by the Buffalo Bills. I thought for sure Miami would put up a better fight. I picked Miami with the upset. It made sense to me. They were just a hotter team right now. Tua's playing great, but right now they just hit that wall. They really did, and Tua just really a quiet game. 282 yards passing with a touchdown and a pick. Didn't really do great on my fantasy team, so I'm like, what the heck? But Tyreek Hill was a little quiet. But for Bills, Josh Allen, 320 yards passing with 4 touchdown passes and 1 rushing touchdown. That's a Josh Allen I know. And since week 1, Josh Allen has turned it around. I think Josh Allen realized, hey, a lot of the critics are saying, hey, Josh Allen's this and that. He's not the superstar guy. But right now he's playing like it. And that's the Josh Allen that Buffalo Bills know. And if they want to win a Super Bowl this year, that's exactly how Josh Allen needs to play. There's the exact same way. He needs to run when he's open field. He needs to throw the ball down the field to his boy Stephon Diggs, who's been balling out. 120 yards of receiving and 3 tutties for Stephon Diggs. Whoever has Stephon Diggs in their fantasy is probably winning right now. I have Tua. I took an L this week, but Tua didn't have the best game. But the Bills, they just ran right through him, 48-20. And I'm looking at Miami and going, wow, their defense just got exploited, dude. It just did not look good. But it was all Josh Allen. That's why. If Josh Allen plays like this and Stephon Diggs plays like this, we're talking Buffalo can make it to the Super Bowl. I'm telling you right now, I just think the defense is definitely a question mark for me, running deep. I mean, last year in the playoffs, they're at home playing against the Bengals and they cough it up. So I think for the Bills, a lot of pressure is at right now. The Bills' pressures come playoff time. Josh Allen, how's he going to perform in the playoffs? Is he going to be doing the same stuff that he's doing right now, balling out? That's what I want to see. I want to see the Josh Allen balling out. I want to see the Bills in the Super Bowl this year. That's just my take, but a big win by the Buffalo Bills at home. And then we got the Denver beating the Chicago Bears. Denver scoring 17 points in the fourth quarter to win the game. And Russell Wilson finally had a good game. After so many games where I thought, that's it for Russell Wilson. His career's over in the NFL, but it's not. He has 223 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. But you're playing against the, Bears who hasn't even won a game this year. They're 0-4 now, so it's not really saying much. Denver coming back, that's a big deal, But Denver's not going to make the playoffs either. But for Justin Fields, I feel bad for him. And he balled out 335 yards passing with 4 touchdowns and just 1 pick. DJ Moore, 131 yards receiving and a touchdown. But for the Bears, dude, their defense is terrible. It's sad. It's sad to watch, really. It's just, I don't know what it is. I think it's the coaching staff and the organization for the Bears. It's not Justin Fields. They need to keep Justin Fields and DJ Moore. But I just think moving forward in the future, they need to make some big changes in their organization. But huge win by the Denver Broncos. But like I said, their first win of really just not that many wins this year. I'm telling you, I don't see Denver really doing much this year. But, big win by the Denver Broncos. And then we got the Baltimore Ravens versus the Cleveland Browns. Browns were 1.5-point favorites, but Deshaun Watson did not play, so this was my lock pick all weekend. Without Deshaun Watson, without Nick Chubb, definitely the Cleveland Browns were destined to lose this game. That was the easiest pick. This was free money right here. This was the easiest game all weekend, and it was all Ravens. Lamar balled out 2 touchdowns, 186 yards passing. His boy Mark Andrews had 80 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. and 28-3, and it was all Ravens. This was an easy win by the Ravens. Didn't really prove much, without Deshaun Watson. Hopefully he wasn't at the massage parlor earlier before the game, but it's just, they need it back. They need it back, and Nick Chubb, being out, dude. It sucks for the Cleveland Browns. They're not going to make the playoffs this year. That's the reality for the Cleveland Browns. You guys are not going to make it, dude. Without Nick Chubb, it's over for you guys, but big win by Lamar and the Baltimore Ravens. And then we got the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Houston Texans. Look, shout out to the Houston Texans, man. I doubted C.J. Stroud, but right now, C.J. Stroud is looking like Cam Newton when Cam Newton first came into the NFL. Just throwing the ball, throwing dimes. Yeah, 306 yards passing and 2 touchdowns, and it was all Houston here. It was sad. I mean, dude, the defense was not ready for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was on their heels, but, Nico Collins went off with 2 touchdowns, 168 yards receiving, and it was all Houston Texans here. And I got to give homage to C.J. Stroud. I just did not think he would pan out this quickly in the NFL, but really he's looking better than Bryce Young, and he was the 2nd overall pick this year in the NFL draft. So I think C.J. Stroud's out to prove some stuff right now. He's playing with a chip on his shoulder. He's playing hungry, and that's what you want if you're Houston Texans fans. You want that. You want C.J. Stroud to take off right here. So huge win by the Houston Texans. It was really an easy win. Back-to-back big wins by the Houston Texans. Nobody saw this coming, but shout to the Texans, man. Shout to C.J. Stroud. Huge win at home over the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then we got the Minnesota Vikings versus the Carolina Panthers. Both teams were 0-3. Minnesota finally got their first win all season, and it was a long time coming. Kirk Cousins, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Justin Jefferson, the best receiver in the NFL, 85 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. I mean, it was all them at the end of the game. Whereas, obviously Bryce Young, still a rookie, still adapting to the system. But I'm telling you right now, C.J. Stroud is looking better quarterback than Bryce Young right now. So I wonder how the Carolina Panthers are like looking at that and saying, oh, wow, we might have fumbled the bag here. Like, what did we do wrong? What went wrong in the NFL draft? Like, what happened? But I think long-term Bryce Young is still going to pan out. I really do. It's just C.J. Stroud's really balling out. But huge win by the Minnesota Vikings. Finally, they're 1-3. They definitely did not want to go 0-4. I'm just looking at Kirk Cousins in Minnesota and saying, how are you guys 1-3? Like, you guys are putting up crazy numbers, crazy fantasy numbers, yet you guys are still losing games. It doesn't make sense to me, but this was a must-win game by the Minnesota Vikings. They have too much talent to only have one victory all season right now in the first month. It's crazy, but big win by the Minnesota Vikings and Kirk Cousins. And then we got the Washington Commanders versus the Philadelphia Eagles. This was a crazy game, overtime game. Shout out to the Washington Commanders. They put up a great game. Sam Howell had a touchdown. Brian Robinson Jr. had a touchdown. I just think, man, Philly, dude, hey, shout out to Jake Elliott. Hit a 54-yard game-winning field goal in overtime to ice it for the Philadelphia Eagles. So Philly is 4-0 once again. Just like last year, they started off 4-0. They're starting off 4-0 this year, and I think they can make it back to the Super Bowl. I really do. I think Philadelphia's biggest threat is definitely the San Francisco 49ers. That matchup's going to be crazy, but huge win. A huge win by Philly, man. Jalen Hurts, 2 touchdowns. DeAndre Swift, 2 touchdowns. A.J. Brown went crazy, dude. 175 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. He snapped off. So if A.J. Brown was on your fantasy squad this weekend, you definitely won. You definitely hit a lick. You definitely ran up a bag. So shout out to the Philadelphia Eagles, man, getting the overtime victory against, really a subpar team in Washington Commanders, but it doesn't matter. A win is a win in the NFL. That's all that matters. Shout out to Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles. And then we got the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Tennessee Titans. This is the most game that I was disappointed the most. It was just like, how? How are the Cincinnati Bengals only have 1 dub this year? Like, I'm just in shock right now. Joe Burrow does not look good. Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase, just the whole flow, the whole vibe, the whole swagger in Cincy right now is just off. I don't know what it is. Is Joe Burrow hurt? I don't know. It's just not the same right now. They got ran through by the Tennessee Titans. Derrick Henry just had his way. He had a touchdown over 100 yards rushing, 122 yards rushing. DeAndre Hopkins, 63 yards receiving. Ryan Tannehill had 3 picks, dude. But, at the end of the day, the Bengals lost this game, dude. 27-3, and I'm thinking, how? How do you lose this game, these type of games? So I'm just looking at it and realizing the Bengals, dude, their window might be closing this year. I don't know. Like, I'm looking at Joe Burrow and realizing, dude, what happened? Like, how? Like, how are you guys only one win this year? You guys have so much talent, so many great athletes on your team, and yet you guys only have one victory? I'm looking at Joe Burrow and company and Cincinnati Bengals and saying, hey, you guys got to get back on track or else it's over for you guys this year. You know, you're not going to make it back to the Super Bowl like you did a year and a half, 2 years ago against the Rams. Lost in that Super Bowl. So I just think, man, I'm looking at Cincy. They are the most disappointing team yet this year in the NFL. It's just like the Bengals with Joe Burrow, dude, Jamar Chase, the year they had last year and the year before, it doesn't make any sense. They got to turn it around. Now is the time to do it. And then we got the Las Vegas Raiders versus the LA Chargers. Chargers got the job done barely. They only won by 7 points. I thought they win by more. You know, Justin Herbert, a touchdown in a pick. Keenan Allen, who's on my fantasy squad, has been snapping off. He had a touchdown today. It was just great. It really was. So shout out to LA Chargers. You know, it's nice when your bets hit. You know, but the Las Vegas Raiders, Josh Jacobs finally caught some wind here. 58 yards rushing and a touchdown with 81 yards receiving. But it just wasn't enough with Jimmy G out. I just think they started a guy from Purdue who threw a lot of picks. So it was all Chargers here. This was an easy dub by the LA Chargers. Big win. And then we got the New England Patriots versus the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys were 6.5-point favorites. They blew out New England Patriots 38-3. I saw this coming. Dak Prescott 281 yards passing and a touchdown. You know, I'm looking at the New England Patriots and realizing, look, Mac Jones is not the guy. I've been on Bill Belichick about this. 2 picks. He ends up benching him and puts in Bailey Zappi. I think they should go with Bailey Zappi in the future. I don't see why they wouldn't. Like, why? I mean, Mac Jones, dude, he's not a quarterback, dude. He's not a starting quarterback in the NFL. And if he is, look at the Patriots right now. Their offense is terrible. 3 points? Like, you guys got ran through, but huge win by the Dallas Cowboys. This was a must-win by the Cowboys. After, you know, fumbling the bag last week against Arizona, you guys needed to win this. And I'm still, with the Dallas Cowboys, it's still the same scenario. And I'm looking at Dak Prescott. Come playoff time, how's it going to play? How's it going to play out? What's the new excuse going to be for the Dallas Cowboys? Oh, Diggs got hurt, the starting quarterback, or cornerback, you know, our main guy on defense. You know, next man up mentality. I just think for the Dallas Cowboys, there's always a good excuse of why you guys lose the big game in the playoffs. I want to know what it is this year. But a big win by the Cowboys. And then we got the Arizona Cardinals versus the San Francisco 49ers. San Francisco ran through them. Christian McCaffrey, the best running back in the NFL right now, 4 touchdowns. If you have him on your fantasy squad, oh my gosh, dude, you are going crazy here. Literally, you're going nuts. Like, McCaffrey's just dogging everybody right now. And then you got Ayuk. He had 148 yards receiving. He snapped off. Even though Debo was a quiet game, you know, I just think they really should have benched Debo this game, sat him out because he had a rib injury from last game. And just worried about next week's game. That's my opinion on it, but they still played Debo. He had a quiet game. Brock Purdy had a quiet game, but McCaffrey, man, I'm telling you, he's that X-Factor type of player. Him and Debo Samuel, dude. In 4 touchdowns for McCaffrey, just crazy, dude. All over Arizona. Arizona had no answer. So, you know, San Francisco 49ers probably pound for pound right now, the best NFL team right now. I mean, they have all the athletes, all the stars on their team, you know, a great defense. Like, it's just, what more could you ask for from San Francisco? Like, you have everything you need. You have all the key pieces. You have a key running back. Brock Purdy's a solid quarterback. Great receivers, great defense, Bosa, you know, just there's so many, Wagner, just so many great players on San Francisco. So I would definitely say San Francisco is a team to beat right now. I can't wait, but huge win by the San Francisco 49ers. And then we had the Sunday Night Football game, the Kansas City Chiefs versus the New York Jets. Kansas City was up huge in this game, but the New York Jets battled back even though they lost by only 3 points. Zach Wilson surprisingly had a good game. 245 yards passing with 2 touchdowns. Kelsey only had like 60 yards receiving. I think, you know, the Taylor Swift and him, you just kind of get into him right now. But Patrick Mahomes had 2 picks and only 1 touchdown. A quiet game, really. But for Kansas City-wise, it was just like one of them games where it's like, oh my gosh, you guys might blow this game. They won barely, but it was just one of them head-scratchers like, Kansas City, I don't see them going to the Super Bowl this year. I just don't. Their defense is suspect to me. That's why I'm not picking them to go to the Super Bowl this year. But then again, you have Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in the league, so anything's possible. And then the Monday Night Football game, we got the Seattle Seahawks versus the New York Giants. I picked Seattle. Seattle got the easy dub. Over 7 sacks on Daniel Jones. I feel bad for Daniel Jones. No offensive line in New York. It's sad. You know, Saquon Barkley's been out for a couple weeks. Hopefully he comes back next week. But, you know, Devin Witherspoon, the guy Seattle drafted 5th overall in the NFL draft, he's the first Seattle player with 2 sacks and a pick 6 in one game. This dude is crazy. Shout out to Devin Witherspoon. I knew this guy was going to be a superstar. He plays hard. He plays fast. He's great in coverage. He can tackle in open field. He kind of reminds me a little of Bob Sanders mixed in with some Ed Reed. I know it's a little different, you know, different type of safeties, but still, I'm telling you, Devin Witherspoon, man, this guy's he played at Illinois in college, which is crazy. You would think he'd play at like Bama or somewhere, but I'm telling you, Devin Witherspoon, this guy is the new Legion of Boom in Seattle, but big win in Seattle for Monday Night Football, but you're playing the Giants. They're trash, but what a weekend for the NFL. What a week 4. But for my Indianapolis Colts, they showed me, hey, we're battle resilient. We're not going to give up. We're going to go over the top. Even though they're 2-2 right now, the Colts, I thought for sure we'd be 1-3 or 0-4. So 2-2 to me is nice for the Indianapolis Colts. We just got to keep Anthony Richardson healthy. But, you know, as far as all my picks, it was definitely a rough week for me. It really was. Week 4 did not go as planned. But, hey, we got next week. I cannot wait. The NFL's just taking off, man. Take off to my Indianapolis Colts. It's the Clown with Cam show. Let's go!